Have you ever wondered why the men women remember aren't the loudest, richest, or most jacked, but the ones who make them feel safe while never apologizing for their standards? Here's the paradox most guys miss. Kindness is magnetic only when it has a spine. Real kindness is not approval-seeking. It's controlled strength. It's generosity without self-betrayal. In a world where so many men confuse being nice with being agreeable, women are starving for men who can be warm and firm at the same time. You don't win a woman's respect by proving you'll do anything for her. You win it by showing you won't abandon yourself while caring for her. That distinction changes everything about how you text, plan, speak, and react when things get messy. Imagine this. You plan the date, you book the table, you show up 5 minutes early. You compliment her outfit because it's true, not because you're hunting for credit. The food is late, the server messes up, she's a little cranky. You don't collapse. You smile, handle it with calm humor, and get the issue fixed without poisoning the mood. She feels your steadiness in her nervous system. That's kindness with leadership. Now picture the alternate universe. You over-compliment, apologize for everything, say whatever you want until your spine melts, and when she withdraws her attention to test you, you chase harder. That's not kindness. That's neediness dressed as manners. And it kills attraction because she can feel that every nice thing you do carries a silent invoice. Here's the trap most men fall into. Some women use withdrawal as control. Not because they're monsters, because it works on insecure men. Sudden slow replies, vague plans, a cool tone after a warm date. You rush to fix it by over-texting, over-explaining, over-giving. Your stomach drops and you start running mental autopsies on a problem that might not even exist. You teach her that she can regulate your emotions with crumbs. The antidote is compassionate indifference. Mirror her pace without pettiness. If she pulls back, give space. If she goes vague, maybe this week, not sure, you stop negotiating and remove pressure. No stress. Let's try another time. Enjoy your week. Then you get back to your life. If she's genuinely interested, the space gives her room to reach back. If she isn't, you just saved months of self-betrayal. Let's be surgical about manipulation. Watch for patterns. She won't define anything but wants boyfriend effort. She dangles stories about other men to spark jealousy. She makes every disagreement your fault. She withholds affection until you comply. Don't argue with a tactic. Remove the reward. Shorten your replies. Stop explaining your worth. Validate once, then set the frame. I like you. I don't do silent treatment. When you want to talk directly, I'm here. If she threatens to leave because you set a boundary, you answer with non-violence and non-negotiability. I respect your choice. That sentence is the door that protects your dignity. You aren't punishing her. You're protecting the conditions under which your kindness can exist. Overinvesting is the disease that kills attraction under the costume of kindness. You buy gifts before a real connection forms. You send good morning and good night to a woman who hasn't earned your consistency. You cancel your gym session to fit her flaky schedule. You think you're being caring. What you're really signaling is that your life is for sale. Replace it with the reciprocity rule. Match, then lead. Thursday 7 p.m., wine bar on 3rd. If that doesn't work, suggest another time. Give attention in proportion to the attention you're receiving, then set the next container. If she gives a concrete alternative, great. Lead again. If she stays in the fog, step out of the fog. Men who master this don't become cold. They become choosy. And choosy reads as confident because it is. Why does this work? Because women respond to felt reality, not to your intentions. A man who chooses himself signals safety. He's less likely to become resentful, controlling, or needy because his needs are already met by his mission, his brothers, and his discipline. That energy is soothing. Kindness without boundaries curdles into bitterness. Kindness with boundaries becomes polarity. She relaxes because you won't crumble under pressure, and you won't betray yourself to keep her. Not the flowers, not the flattery, the felt sense that you are calm, clear, and self-governed. Practice this now. Before you text, ask, am I seeking reassurance or offering direction? Before you spend, ask, has she reciprocated? Before you apologize, ask, did I actually do wrong, or am I afraid to lose approval? Build 3 habits this week. 1. Protect your schedule, workouts, work blocks, sleep. If she's interested, she'll fit into a life that's already moving. 2. Stop explaining your boundaries. State them once and enforce them through action. I don't raise my voice. I step away and return when we can talk. Then do it. 3. Add positive friction. When you feel anxious, slow your replies, slow your speech, maintain eye contact, and let silence do some work. Anxiety wants speed. Leadership chooses pace. If she escalates drama, you de-escalate attention. If she withholds, you withhold pursuit. If she speaks directly, you reward it with presence. If she withholds, you withhold pursuit. If she speaks directly, you reward it with presence. Become a thermostat, not a thermometer. Set the room. Treat tests as information, not emergencies. And when she is consistently kind to you, double down. Plan better dates, listen deeper, remove distractions, and make your appreciation specific. What you noticed and how it made the moment better. Kindness isn't soft, it's rigorous. It's the discipline to stay open without collapsing, generous without groveling, honest without cruelty. That's the version of you she can trust, and the version of you you can live with. Have you ever recognized yourself in the guy who chases harder the moment she goes cold? When was the last time you enforced a boundary without defending it? What situation makes it hardest for you to stay calm and kind without turning into a doormat? You learn the difference between performance and presence the moment you stop trying to impress and start telling the truth. Performance is when you tilt your head, soften your voice, and over-smile because you want a certain reaction. Presence is when your facial expression matches your feeling, your words match your values, and your actions match your standards. Women are exquisitely tuned to this gap. A man who smiles while abandoning himself reads as slippery. A man who kindly tells the truth, even when it risks the outcome, reads as solid. So when she asks, "What are you looking for?" stop chasing approval with vague answers. Say what you mean. I'm dating with intent. I move slowly with intimacy. I value directness. If we're aligned, great. If not, also great. It's gentle and unmistakable. You'll watch attraction either sharpen or evaporate, and both outcomes save you time. Kindness means you communicate in clean lines. Most men leak anxiety into paragraphs. She takes 3 hours to reply, so you send a long message explaining how communication is important and you're just a respectful guy who wants clarity. That's a plea disguised as principle. Keep it simple. After silence games or flaky plans, you mirror pace and set the frame. I like direct energy. If the vibe changes, tell me. Then you go live your life. If she's playing for control, she'll try to bait you into chasing with a stray selfie, a late-night "hey," or shallow sarcasm. Don't reward breadcrumbs. You can acknowledge without investing. Hope your week's good. No question, no hook, then nothing. Your calmness forces the game into the open. You also need a practice for the moment your nervous system spikes. When the message doesn't land, when she cancels last minute, when she mentions her ex over dinner, your chest will tighten. Untrained men argue, fix, or perform. You're going to regulate. Inhale 4, hold 2, exhale 8. Put the phone down and do 20 slow push-ups or a 5-minute walk. Then ask the question that mature men use. What action keeps me proud of myself tomorrow? Pride beats panic. Maybe the answer is to reschedule once and only once. All good. Let's try Tuesday 7. If not, no worries. Maybe the answer is to end the date early with kindness. I'm not feeling the match, but I wish you well. You'll feel a small grief and a larger freedom. That's the price of staying clean. Some women test because they want to feel your edges. They poke to see if your kindness is a mask. She'll tease your job, interrupt your story, or flirt with the waiter. You don't sulk and you don't retaliate. You recenter the energy. You look at her with amused composure and say, "You're spicy tonight. Keep it playful." That line carries a boundary wrapped in warmth. If she continues, you escalate the standard, not the volume. I enjoy respectful banter. If it shifts, I'll head out early. Then you mean it. Kindness without the possibility of exit is hostage behavior. The quiet willingness to walk away turns your kindness into a choice, not a trap. Overinvestment often hides in grand gestures. You plan a weekend trip after 2 dates. You send flowers to her work after 1 good kiss. You give the speech about how you'd never hurt her because other men did. It feels romantic. It reads as inflation. Real value doesn't shout. Scale your giving to the reality you've actually built. A tight, attentive 2-hour date beats a whirlwind fantasy. A short, sincere voice note beats a love letter written to a stranger. If you feel compelled to prove you're different, assume you're trying to purchase security. Pause. Focus on rhythm. Plan great dates, follow through, stay consistent, and let the connection earn its upgrades. Kindness is also clarity around intimacy. If you rush physicality to secure validation, you'll pay for it with confusion. Set your pace early, not as a test for her, but as a commitment to yourself. I don't rush. I want chemistry and compatibility. I'll set the tempo. Then you back it up with slow hands, patient conversation, a clean goodbye at the door. When she tries to accelerate and see if you'll cave, thank her for the signal and hold the frame. Attraction's loud. I like building it right. You'll feel your power rise because you are driving the vehicle of your desire instead of being dragged by it. Detachment isn't cold. It's warm distance from outcomes you can't control. You focus on inputs, how you show up, how you speak, the dates you create, the boundaries you hold. Then you let the chips fall. That's why your texts shorten when energy gets weird. That's why you'd rather have one hard conversation than 10 soft evasions. That's why you never chase twice in a row. You need a personal rule book. You reach out once. If she reciprocates, great. If not, you archive the thread and get back to your mission. You reward directness with presence. You reward consistency with plans. You reward kindness with more of yours. This turns dating from an ego contest into a filtration process. Remember this: the right woman experiences your kindness as oxygen, not leverage. She will meet you in the middle, care for your time, and protect the atmosphere you're both breathing. The wrong woman experiences your kindness as a vending machine. Press buttons, get candy. Your job is not to convince, it's to observe. When the pattern is clear, you choose. And you choose without anger, because anger keeps you attached. Indifference built on self-respect sets you free. When did you last state what you actually want without cushioning it for approval? Where are you still performing niceness to manage her perception of you? If you had to write your personal rulebook for texting, plans, and intimacy pace tonight, what would be on page 1? You can feel the difference the moment you start living by standards instead of moods. Standards are decisions made in calm that guide you under stress. Moods are weather. When you date from moods, you chase when you're anxious and withdraw when you feel ignored, and your kindness becomes conditional. When you date from standards, you're steady. Create a 3-part standard now. Time standard. You respond within your normal life rhythm, not her test rhythm. If you're in work mode, you answer after work. If you're in the gym, you answer after the gym. Attention standard. You invest proportionally. If she initiates, you reciprocate and then lead. If she goes passive, you slow to match. Boundary standard. You address disrespect once, clearly, without debate, and you follow through. This is not about punishing her. It's about protecting the conditions where real kindness can breathe. The fastest way to collapse your power is to explain your standards in essays. Stop narrating your boundaries. State them in one sentence and show the consequence in action. If she disappears for days and reappears like nothing happened, you don't scold. You reset the frame with brevity. Let's pick a week when you're more available. Then you reduce availability. If she mocks something vulnerable you shared, you don't educate her on empathy. You pause the date early. I'm going to head out, not my vibe. Pay the bill, stand up, and go. Your calm exit is a mirror. Either she self-corrects because she respects you, or she reveals who she is. Clean data either way. Modern dating rewards men who can switch between 2 gears: soft front, strong back. Soft front is your warmth. Eye contact, curiosity, steady tone, playful smiles. Strong back is your structure. Planning, pacing, boundaries, follow-through. Many men run only 1 gear. Either they're all softness, which dissolves under pressure, or all hardness, which repels intimacy. Your practice: design dates that let both exist. Start with a decisive plan. Saturday 6 p.m., gallery opening, then ramen at Neko. Add micro moments of attunement. Learn her coffee order. Remember the story about her grandmother. Tilt your body slightly toward her when she shares something vulnerable. Then sprinkle leadership checkpoints. You choose the table, you pay without counting coins, you move the conversation when it loops into gossip. This combination broadcasts, "You're safe with me, and I'm safe with me." Let's talk about apology, because weak apologies destroy respect and strong ones build trust. The weak version: "I'm sorry if you felt." Translation: your feelings are the problem. The strong version: You're right, I was late, that's on me. It won't repeat. Here's how I'll fix it. One sentence of ownership, one sentence of repair, and then silence. You don't grovel. You don't perform self-hatred. And you do not accept weaponized apologies back. If she says, "I'm sorry but you made me," you slow it down. "I accept apologies without the but. We can try again." If she can't do clean accountability, you file that as data. Kindness seeks repair, manipulation seeks leverage. Jealousy games are common. She mentions a guy who won't leave her alone, posts thirst traps mid-conversation, or name drops an ex in a way designed to spike your insecurity. You don't match it with jealousy of your own or interrogations that expose your fear. You reset the atmosphere. If you're exploring, explore fully. I'm not competing for attention. When you want to focus, I'm best in focused connections. Then you decrease availability and increase standards for next plans. Paradoxically, this often increases her respect because you refuse to audition. If she doubles down, great. You just avoided a relationship that feeds itself on chaos. There's also the kindness of selection. You must pre-screen for values, not just chemistry. On date 1 and 2, ask terrifyingly simple questions and listen to her actual answers, not your fantasy. What does a great week look like for you? When you're stressed, do you isolate or reach out? What did you learn from your last breakup that you actually changed? You're not interrogating, you're inviting clarity. A woman who values connection will show you with specifics, names, routines, examples. A woman who thrives on drama will float in generalities, switch topics when accountability appears, or answer every question with a story where she's the hero and everyone else is the villain. Your kindness is to yourself. You filter early. You'll need a recentering ritual because the nervous system is where you lose the frame. Build a 15-minute protocol for when anxiety spikes. 5 minutes of breath, 4-2-8. 5 of body, walk or push-ups. 5 of perspective, journal 3 lines. What happened? What's in my control? What action keeps me proud tomorrow? Only then do you touch the phone. This interrupts the chase impulse and creates space for the version of you that leads. Pair this with a no double text in uncertainty rule. You reach out once. If she doesn't mirror, you leave it. If she comes back 3 days later with a casual wide, you don't sprint to catch the ball. You set the terms. Good to hear from you. I'm free Thursday 7 or Sunday 5. If not, we'll skip. If she wants access, she meets a standard. Finally, understand the cost of fake kindness. Every time you say yes to protect a vibe, you say no to your self-respect. That debt accrues interest. It shows up later as resentment, sarcasm, and passive withdrawal, which erodes the intimacy you thought you were preserving. Real kindness tells the truth at the speed of respect. You can be sweet and unmovable. You can be generous and scarce. You can be loving and unwilling to accept poor treatment. That paradox is your power, because it proves you are choosing her with your eyes open, not performing for permission to stay. Where do you still over-explain instead of letting your actions do the teaching? Which jealousy or silence game hooks you fastest? And what will your new scripted response be? What questions will you use on your very next date to screen for values without breaking the vibe? The moment you realize kindness is a filter, not a lure, your entire approach shifts. You stop using niceness to coax attention and start using generosity to reveal alignment. Think about your texting cadence. When she sends a thoughtful message, you mirror thoughtfulness. When she sends a low-effort "you up" after ignoring your last plan, you don't scold or sermonize, you answer in the same currency. Not tonight. Busy week. That's not petty, that's calibration. Calibration is kindness because it keeps the story honest. You're showing her the level of access that matches the level of effort. If she wants more, she knows exactly how to earn it. Consistency and clarity. This keeps you out of the trap where you pour attention into a bottomless bucket and then resent her for being thirsty. Upgrade your dates with structure that makes kindness feel like leadership. Decide the window. 90-120 minutes for early dates, never open-ended. Choose a plan that lets you walk, talk, and pivot. Coffee then bookstore, gallery then noodles, market then gelato. You're not proving wealth, you're proving presence. You arrive on time, phone face down, and you steer out of gossip loops. When she tests by going colder mid-date, you don't overcompensate. You hold eye contact, smile lightly, and move to a new topic or a new location. If the energy doesn't recover, you end early with grace. I'm going to head out. I've got an early morning. Thank you for tonight. You pay, you hug, you go. Not a lecture, not a plea, clean closure. Later, if you feel it, send a one-line follow-up. I enjoyed the gallery. Wishing you a good week. That's the masculine version of kindness. Deliberate, bounded, and pressure-free. You'll also meet the storm test. That's when she brings a chaotic story to the date. Work drama, friend fallout, family explosions, and watches whether you drown or anchor. Weak men either fix or flee. You're going to do neither. You validate once, that sounds heavy. Then ask one clarifying question, what's in your control? And redirect. If she can leave the storm, great. If she insists on dragging the chaos into every corner of the night, you refuse the role of emotional sponge. You can say gently, let's park it for tonight. I want this time to feel light. If she can't, that's important data. Your kindness doesn't mean being a landfill for unresolved pain. Silent treatment is amateur control. Treat it like a fire drill for your nervous system. Step 1. No pursuit. Step 2. Reset the frame once. When you're ready to talk directly, I'm here. Step 3. Live. Fill your calendar with mission, training, friends, creativity. If she returns with hostility, oh, now you care? You don't defend your absence. You reinforce the standard. I don't do fights by distance. We can talk today at 7 or tomorrow at 6. If she refuses to engage and punishes your boundaries, the relationship is negotiating against your mental health. Exit with respect. I'm stepping back. This dynamic isn't for me. A man who won't abandon himself is a lightning rod. Women who value clarity are drawn. Women who value control scatter. Sexual pacing is where kindness proves itself. Many men sprint to intimacy to calm their insecurity, then discover they built connection on a dopamine fog. You set the pace with language and body. Before escalation, you name the tempo. I like going slow enough to keep it honest. During, you lead with consent as a mood, not a checklist. Soft questions, steady eye contact, a pace that responds to her breath, not your urgency. After, you're not a ghost. You text a simple, grounded message the next day. Last night was beautiful. How's your morning? And you keep your plan rhythm. That aftercare is kindness as security. But here's the line. If intimacy becomes a lever, she withholds to win arguments or offers to erase disagreements, you step off the board. Sex isn't a bargaining chip in my world. Let's solve the issue or pause. Then you pause. Your desire is powerful. Your discipline is more powerful. The friend audience test exposes performance quickly. If she performs disrespect in front of her friends, mini put-downs, inside jokes at your expense, you don't laugh along to keep the peace. You pivot the context. I like playful, not cutting. If it continues, you leave the group early without theatrics. Good to meet everyone, I've got an early start. The next day, you don't litigate the night. You set the standard for future access. I'm in when it's respectful. Otherwise, I sit it out. She either learns the joy of private intimacy and public loyalty, or she keeps her audience and loses you. Never outsource your worth to her mood. Build a masculine ecosystem that feeds you whether she's warm or distant. 3 pillars. Body. Train hard enough to sweat out static daily. Mission. A project that stretches you beyond dating. Skill acquisition, revenue target, artistic work. Brotherhood. Men who challenge you and refuse your excuses. When your baseline is rich, you don't beg a woman to be your entertainment or your therapist. You offer a seat in a life that's already alive. That's what makes your kindness feel like abundance rather than a trap. If you relapse into chase, don't spiral. Catch it fast and convert it into data. Ask, what triggered me? Where did I ignore a small no inside me? What's my corrective action in the next 24 hours? Then take one concrete step. Archive the thread, schedule a training session, text a friend to plan something. Kindness includes forgiveness, but not amnesia. You remember the lesson and upgrade your standards accordingly. When was the last time you ended a lukewarm date early without apology? Which storm test has pulled you into fixing instead of anchoring? And how will you respond next time? What's the one pillar? Body, mission, or brotherhood you'll upgrade this week so your kindness comes from overflow, not emptiness. There's a version of you that never begs for certainty because he creates it. That version understands that kindness doesn't mean emotional exposure without discernment. It means intentional exposure with earned trust. You don't trauma dump on date 2 and then call it vulnerability. You offer calibrated truths and watch how she handles them. You share a small thing you're working on, sleep discipline, a family tension, a creative risk, and you notice whether she leans in with curiosity or weaponizes it as a future jab. If she shows care, you open one more layer later. If she makes it a joke or a scoreboard, the flow stops. This is how you build intimacy like a craftsman, layer by layer, never faster than mutual responsibility can support. Your conversations should move on rails you choose. Curiosity, values, future rhythm. Curiosity means you actually listen and reflect. So when you changed careers, what belief did you have to kill? That question isn't random, it tests depth. Values questions expose her operating system without the interview vibe. What do you protect your time for no matter what? Future rhythm is innocently practical. What does an ideal Sunday look like? If she answers with specifics and asks you back, you've got reciprocity. If she keeps returning to drama reels and status trivia, you're being auditioned for attention ATM, not partner. Kindness is to end auditions you didn't agree to. Let's get into conflict, because that's where attraction either matures or dies. The first time there's tension, don't sprint to reconcile because you're afraid she'll leave. Make the space safe and structured. You slow your voice, keep your shoulders relaxed, and say, I want to understand, not win. What do you need me to hear? You give her 2 minutes without interrupting. Then you mirror the essence, not every detail. You felt dismissed when I looked at my phone. You want my full attention. If you agree, own it cleanly and offer a fix. Phone stays in the car on dates. If you disagree, you don't invalidate. You clarify, I hear you. My intent wasn't to dismiss. Next time, tell me in the moment and I'll correct. If she punishes rather than participates, stonewalls, score keeps, escalates to character attacks, you press pause. This is getting unproductive. I'm stepping out for an hour. We can continue when it's calm. The boundary preserves the bridge. If the bridge keeps getting burned, you stop rebuilding it. You'll encounter compartmentalizers, women who want your boyfriend energy while keeping you out of their real life. You'll notice it in the evasions. Months in and you've met no friends, plans are always last minute, her schedule is a fortress you're allowed to visit only when convenient. Instead of pleading for access, state your relationship with reality. I value continuity and integration. I don't do on-call romance. If this stays in the bubble, I'm going to bow out. No accusation, just standards. Often she'll reveal the truth, still in a loop with an ex, emotionally unavailable, or simply not choosing you. Your gentlest act is to release both of you. Money tests happen too. She hints at expensive dinners, drops comments about what her ex bought, or treats your generosity as owed. You never shame or flex. You set the container. I enjoy planning and I'm generous by choice. I don't do obligation. Early on, keep spending modest and intentional. Choose environments that create memory, not price tags. When you give cleanly. No IOUs, no invisible contracts. And if you sense entitlement, you reset access. Fewer plans, more group settings, slower pace. Women who respect you will prefer your presence over your receipts. Women who don't will self-select out when the vending machine stops dispensing. Texting is where many men bleed power. Adopt the rule of 3. If a thread goes dry 3 times in a row, her answers are one word, no questions back, delayed without context, you convert to logistics only. Free through 7 or Sun 5. If there's no concrete response, you exit the loop. Archive, not anger. Conversely, when energy flows, you enrich it without flooding. One thoughtful question, one playful note, one plan. Then step away. Your absence is a feature, not a bug. It lets her feel the arc of missing you, which is essential if you want attraction to breathe instead of hyperventilate. Body language is kindness in a language older than words. Sit with open posture, feet planted, shoulders back, breath low. When she speaks, keep your eyes on her mouth and eyes, not your screen or the room. Don't nod frantically. Stillness reads as attention. Touch is an advanced course. Start with brief, grounded contact. A light touch on the elbow when you guide her through a crowd. A hand to her back when you open a door. If she warms, you lengthen and escalate slowly. If she stiffens or pulls away, you reduce instantly without sulking. Consent respected increases desire. Consent ignored annihilates it. Your restraint is erotic because it proves your desire is owned, not leaky. There's a time to show teeth. Not rage, Standards. If she lies, you don't become a detective. You become done. You say, honesty is non-negotiable for me. I'm stepping away. If she gossips viciously about her friends, you don't join. You redirect or excuse yourself. If she pressures you to abandon commitments that make you who you are, training, work blocks, family rituals, you say, these are pillars, not placeholders. They stay. The right woman will lean into your architecture because it promises shelter. The wrong woman will try to remodel you into a soft couch for her chaos. Your refusal is the deepest kindness. It saves you years, and it saves her from a man who would eventually resent her. When you do decide to invest, invest like a man. Clear, consistent, creative. Plan a Sunday that blends your worlds. A morning run together, farmer's market, cook lunch, then each does solo work in the same space. Notice how safety rises when presence and autonomy coexist. Leave her better than you found her, even if it doesn't last, by making directness feel good. Compliment with precision. The way you asked the barista's name was kind, because specific praise reinforces values, not vanity. That is how kindness becomes leadership that she can relax into without losing herself. Which conversation rail, curiosity, values, or future rhythm do you neglect and need to practice this week? Where have you been asking for integration while accepting compartmentalization? And what boundary will you set now? When was the last time your spending signaled leadership instead of insecurity? What's one memorable, low-cost plan you'll run in the next 7 days? You arrive at your real leverage the day you stop treating attraction like a verdict on your worth and start treating it like a mirror of your standards. You learn to read the room without reading yourself to pieces. You notice who you become around her. More grounded or more frantic? Kinder because you're full, or nicer because you're scared? You stop begging for a vibe and start building an atmosphere wherever you go. That's when kindness stops being a strategy and turns into your baseline. You hold doors because you honor space. You speak cleanly because you respect minds. You plan decisively because you respect time, yours and hers. And when someone confuses your openness for emptiness, you prove them wrong by withdrawing your access without withdrawing your warmth. That combination, open heart, closed gate, changes everything. She feels generosity with gravity. You feel light without being lightweight. Detachment begins with inventory. You audit your patterns like a craftsman inspecting tools. Where do you chase? Where do you appease? Where do you over-explain? Then you remove the weak tools from reach. You delete the draft essays you write when you're anxious. You replace late-night scrolling with sleep that stabilizes your frame. You stack your mornings, sweat, silence, strategy. You send one message and let the universe vote. You don't do public pleading. You don't argue with mixed signals. You don't campaign for a role she's not offering. If the door's half open, you don't squeeze. You knock once, then go build a bigger house. Paradoxically, that's when doors open. Because your life radiates selection. Because your respect for yourself upgrades the quality of invitations you receive. Kindness multiplies when you're not hungry for it to be noticed. That's why you compliment sparingly and specifically. That's why you show up on time like a man who values time as a sacred resource. That's why you watch the server's face when they're slammed and tip like you remember what effort looks like. Not to perform nobility, but because you are not the center of every room you enter. Women with real depth feel this like a change in weather. Your presence relaxes, your calm organizes, your humor loosens knots. And when conflict knocks, your discipline keeps the price from climbing. You don't litigate tone at 1 a.m. You don't weaponize affection. You give clean apologies. You ask for clean ones back. You repair without groveling, and you refuse to be repaired with sex. Standards make love simpler, not harsher. There will be moments when the past tries to drag you back. A sharp text, a jealous mention, a silence that feels like a cliff. You will feel the old magnet of chase pulling at your ribs. That's when you use the ritual you built. Breathe, move, write the 3 lines. Ask the pride question. Then act in accordance with your answer, even if your hands shake. The rush to fix is a trap that trades long-term respect for short-term relief. You will not take that trade anymore. You will take the harder path for the easier life. Small discomfort now, large serenity later. You will let people be who they are and let that reality decide access. You will keep your promises to yourself in front of the person who most tempts you to break them. Understand this clearly. Some women will not like your boundaries. They will call them cold, controlling, unromantic. That's fine. Your standards are not a debate club. They are the architecture that keeps your heart habitable. The right woman will test and then relax, push and then trust, negotiate and then align. She will treat your kindness as a resource to steward, not an ATM to drain. She will mirror your reciprocity with her own. She will bring her softness and her spine. She will love that you can hold the frame without holding her hostage. And you will love that you can rest without collapsing, pursue without pleading, give without keeping score. So you stop trying to make everyone like you and start loving the man you are when you keep your word to yourself. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You plan dates that feel like home and adventure in the same hour. You say no quickly and yes deeply. You take nothing personally and everything responsibly. You lead with kindness because you're strong, and you stay strong because you lead with kindness. You become easy to trust because you are hard to move off your center. The chaos of modern dating doesn't terrify you anymore. It trains you. Every flaky text reminds you to invest proportionally. Every storm test reminds you to be the anchor. Every goodbye you choose reminds you that your love is valuable because you treat it that way. This is where the war ends. Not in bitterness, not in conquest, but in clarity. You will not compete for attention you did not ask to audition for. You will not negotiate your self-respect for a second date. You will not confuse being needed with being chosen. You are building a life that feeds you so your relationships can overflow instead of compensate. From that place, your kindness is no longer bait, it is your nature. It is the warmth people feel when they step into your orbit and realize there's structure behind the sun. A woman can lean into that without losing herself. And you can love from there without losing yours. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.